Okay, recording this video on Sunday, the 16th of August 2020. It has just gone 2:17 p.m. Chicago time. Do hope you are doing well. So, it's been a couple of weeks since the last video, a lot been going on. But the last video was on Forex charts, and the Forex charts kind of turning exponential, which indeed they did. And the day after I put out that Forex video, we had all kinds of hell break loose in the Forex charts, and we've now had a couple of weeks of just basing consolidation, just waiting for a change. We're ripe for a change, and that's why I wanted to show you the Forex charts, kind of roll through those and show you what I'm seeing. But before doing that, just to say we're on the move again. After spending 8 months in Hawaii, on the island of Kauai, which was just glorious. But time to move on and travel a little bit. It's kind of a little bit scary if anybody's thinking about kind of getting on planes and flying around. Our experiences in general have been extremely good. The administrative burdens, hassle, paperwork, COVID stuff is greater, but there are a lot fewer people traveling. So we're getting through airports, making connections, kind of no problems, and so on. So in general, it's been very efficient kind of traveling, although a little bit kind of scary. We're not particularly kind of freaked out by COVID stuff, but you're certainly traveling with people who definitely are, and so it kind of makes you kind of question your own kind of choices. But anyway, we're on our way to France, gradually doing it bit by bit. Currently quarantining for 15 days in Canada, doing everything by the rules because the rules are the rules, and all's good. The internet connection isn't as good as what we had in Kauai, but it's workable. So we are just making the best of it. Anyway, so let's talk Forex charts. I'm going to roll through the tick bar charts and the daily charts on Forex as I see them. Something you'll note is that it's going to be different tick bar settings on the Forex charts that I show you. So for example, this is a 1,000 tick bar chart of the dollar index at DX. Here I'm going to be comparing that with a 10,000 tick bar chart of the euro with a, for example, 5,000 bar tick bar chart of the British pound. You're going to be thinking, what the heck is he doing? Why all the different tick bar settings? Well, this is because you have to do some kind of workarounds with tick bars. Tick bars are fantastic, but they also have some limitations. One of the limitations is the different volatilities in the different markets. So there's a lot more trade going through on the euro futures contract than the dollar index futures contract, roughly a factor of 10 difference between the two. And so what I do is I calculate on average the number of ticks or trades that go through on a daily basis for the last year for each of these charts, and I figure out what's 1/9 of that number. So I want 9 bars, 9 tick bars per day session to compare these different markets. So that way they kind of have an element of going down a time frame from the daily charts, but they're also using tick bar data. The other kind of complication with tick bars is you can only calculate so quickly with tick bars. Your charts are churning through a lot of data, and so there are various kind of breakpoints above which tick bars become unworkable. I currently, for example, use a 35 tick bar chart of crude oil, and it's at the extreme of what's really possible, because every time I open that chart with a whole bunch of other tick bar charts, it fails, and I have to load it individually. So you have to pick your tick bar settings kind of logically so that it's efficient, and you can open the charts easily, they can calculate easily and so on, but they don't kind of load down your systems. But the reason for the different tick bar settings is there are approximately 9 of those bars, whatever tick bar chart setting I use, 9 of those bars in a day session. So that's the first kind of intro. The second one is say this is the usual setup, left and right charts, everything to do with volume on the left-hand side, everything to do with price on the right-hand side. This is better sine wave below the price bars, calculating the cycles in 3 different time frames. That allows me to plot support and resistance, dynamic support and resistance levels on the price bars themselves, and then those breaks of support and resistance give me trends. Breaks of resistance give me uptrends, breaks of support give me downtrends. Downtrends painted in white, and strength and uptrends painted in red Left-hand side, everything to do with volume. Below the price bars, we got better momentum here, a volume-based momentum indicator. On the price bars themselves, better pro-am, calculating professional and amateur activity based on the average trade size. And then we've got the combo trend behind the price bars on both charts, where we have a volume and price-based trend system, both working together, both confirming each other. They plot red for strength, or off red for strength, grey for weakness. So here we go. Dollar index been in a big decline down here from 97 level, and 2 weeks ago I was putting out my video on the 30th of July, just before these Rambo patterns here, and I was saying everything's kind of turning exponential, getting a little bit extreme, look out. And that's what we had. We had an extreme kind of reading here on the dollar index. On the euro, ended up being an exhaustion buy pattern, and blue professional bars kind of coming in here. But what is going on? We had an extreme reading with Rambo patterns. These are amateurs playing down at this extreme, getting wrong-footed, potential reversal of an amateur breakout or breakdown, and that's what we've had down here, a Rambo pattern down there. And for the last 2 weeks, we've been basing. So we bounced off there because the amateurs got it wrong, and we've come back to test a couple of times into this level at 93. And we've had the first little blue professional bar kind of popped in here. And so that means our trailing stop based on better pro-am has kind of come down to trail behind that, and the potential break at this level, 93.6, will break us into an uptrend on better pro-am. Meanwhile, on better sine wave on the other side here, nice little downtrend. We broke into all this weakness, bang, bang, bang. And we've had a classic pattern here of, I talk about end of trend patterns rippling through the time frames. So here's our first little end of trend signal. So pull back to end of trend on the lowest time frame. These were these lines that are very thin, showing the lowest time frame, and that shows a left shoulder. Yep, we traveled a little bit further past it, but basically that is a sequence with a left shoulder and an exhaustion pattern, exhaustion sell at this point from better momentum here. And then we ripple through the intermediate time frame and put in a pullback to end of trend here. So there we go, pullback to end of trend. So a left shoulder, inverted shoulders, head and shoulders pattern. This is a shoulder, a head, and we're putting in a shoulder here on the right-hand side. And I always talk about second cyclical turns after end of trends are really important. So we put in a pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frame, and we also put in resistance and a support on the intermediate time frame. So that's the second cyclical turn after end of trend. End of trend, first cyclical turn, second cyclical turn. So we're sitting around here. We have not, on better sine wave, broken into an uptrend or strength. We need to break above 93,250, which is our resistance level here, in order to do that. Once that triggers, we'll be into strength at this point here on dollar index on better sine wave, and then we get to 93.60. That'll be breaking above that will be strength on better pro-am, and this thing will change from the combo trend, will change from a grey downtrend background into a red background for strength. Now at some point our resistance on the highest time frame will come in. So we've overshot support on the highest time frame. We need to come back up and find that resistance on the time frame. This highest time frame. So those two lines, these very thick lines are the highest time frame. These need to come together and cross up at 100, and at that point we'll find some area of resistance. So we'll have another push down into dollar index. This isn't the end of this kind of downtrend move, but we're due for, I think, a little bit of a bounce. Now how that's going to happen, I don't know. It would have been nice to see some blue professional bars kind of come in at any of these lows kind of down here, but we didn't, and they came in this little sequence here. So maybe in the next couple of days we get a move back down to test into this 92 level, and blue professional bars kind of come in there. But the momentum patterns are pretty strong at the moment, so we could easily have just a breakaway move, a couple of days, a couple of bars here, where the blue professional bars kind of step in and they just launch us through 93.6 and kind of get us going on the upside. So not sure what the form of this is going to be to kind of change into an uptrend, whether it's going to be a spike down move to get those blue professional bars, or all of a sudden they decide, Monday morning that, that's it, that's the low for this sequence, this last kind of trending move, and it's time to jump on board and they get this thing running away. So I have to wait and see. So that's dollar index. So dollar index kind of downtrend over, starting to think about a break into an uptrend. The other charts are all going to be the reverse because these are all futures contracts, euro versus the dollar index. And you can see here, this was 30th July. That's where I was saying we were going exponential, bang, and that's exactly what happened. And we had an exponential move into that, I think it was a Monday, and exhaustion buy, and then blue professional bars, they just sold it. They were like, get me out of here at 119, sell, sell, sell. Sold everything in the stack there and just sold it down. So quite an extreme amount of selling that we generate an exhaustion sell. So there's a lot of people getting out there at 818, 819. 118, 119. Came back to test, and this is a classic under the lip. So the lip, I always think of this as kind of the resistance area from better pro-am. We come back to just crack it by a little bit. We don't close above it. We just break it a little bit. Bang, classic under the lip, and then the lip kind of closes over. This testing back up, it's actually an amateur bar here, but that's an end of the week amateur bar. There's not full data on that. You can see the up and down volume was only 4,000 trades. It should be 15,000, something like that trades. So that's a spurious kind of end of day remnant kind of bar there. So I'm not saying that's an amateur up bar at that stage, but we're testing back up into here. And again, the question is, do we just roll over at this point? And everybody says as soon as we break through 17.5, 17, they grab it and just sell it down, or are we going to have another push back up? Don't know. Going to wait, kind of Monday and Tuesday and just see how that kind of turns out. But I think we're starting to see and you're starting to see weakness here because we've got grey backgrounds, and we've got what I call a dark pattern here, where we've got both trends in opposite directions and with black backgrounds. So we're just in that intermediate waiting to see how this turn happens. On better sine wave on the euro chart, you can see it was a whole series of end of trends on the lowest time frame going up. So all of these eventually, one of these becomes a left shoulder there, brilliant, of a head and shoulders pattern. But we had a few on the way. Then the next time frame kicks in, the intermediate time frame, pull back to end of trend there. We have a little bit of weakness if we start breaking supports, and we've come back up into that kind of zone, and this is kind of a bit of a kill zone. So is it going to roll over? The next signal to look for is 17.8, kind of breaking at that support will trigger us into a downtrend on better sine wave, and we'll get a combo downtrend of the two. So the euro is an important chart, so watch for that. British pound's actually still strong. So we've had no kind of signs of weakness yet in terms of breaking supports on better pro-am and better sine wave, but we did have those blue professional bars on the 30th of July, kind of up here, kind of getting out of this, and we've tested back up into those highs, and we've not been able to kind of punch through. So the British pound, similar pattern to the euro chart, but a little bit stronger there. Swiss franc, just doing the European currencies at the same time, same thing. Swiss franc's a little bit kind of stronger. We've not had an exhaustion buy up here. We did have Rambo patterns and blue professional bars selling it down. You can see here they sold it down here, and then when they came back into the test, they were getting out on that rise up there. So we've got the Swiss franc. So they're a little bit stronger, those two charts, than the euro chart, and they'll turn over kind of a little bit later. The next two charts look at Aussie dollar and the Canadian dollar. We've got the growth index, growth kind of markets, the high beta kind of markets, commodity-driven markets. And here we had a similar thing. We had kind of 30th July here. We kind of turned a little bit exponential, and people kind of got out here with blue professional down bars. We tested into that 72.5, whatever level it was up here, bang, bang, a couple of times. Then we sold it down. Now we've got some blue professional bars setting up this little channel here. The break below 71 will be the signal for a resumption of the downtrend in the Aussie dollar here, and you can see on better sine wave it's already weak. We're kind of not able to break any resistances at this point. We're breaking support. So let's see how the Aussie dollar. They're all likely to change in a similar type time frame. So as the dollar index starts to break higher, these will all start to break lower. And then Canadian dollar, same thing as the Aussie, but even stronger than the Aussie at this point. We've got all these red backgrounds showing that uptrend. So nothing's broken yet in terms of supports here, but so the Canadian's doing pretty well. The euro, I think, will be the one to watch. Japanese yen actually has broken the first, and this was a scary kind of pattern here. This was the 30th of July as we moved into this kind of exponential trade I was talking about. I was so lucky to be out at 96 on my day trade there because it just collapsed down. Blue professional bars kind of come in. We've initially kind of held this zone, but that for me is like a killing zone here. You know, as the blue professional bars step in and just hold it, trade it kind of back up, and they're using that whole area here to kind of get short. We know that because they broke the lows of these blue professional bars here and into continued weakness. So this is the weakest of the lot. So the Japanese yen has gone down, but we bounced off a support on the intermediate time frame. So we'll wait and see whether we're going to get a bounce in the euro, just a short-term kind of bounce test into those highs in the euro and Japanese yen, a little bit of a bounce up, and then roll, or do we just kind of give way? I do think Monday, Tuesday is going to be absolutely critical on these Forex charts. But it's difficult to to forecast exactly what's going to go. But I know my levels are critical at which what points these turn into downtrends, and all of a sudden you have to jump on board whatever happened in terms of the testing pattern. So there we go. That's all the tip bar charts. Lastly, just to say on the daily charts, there's not a lot to signal that we've got a potential turn happening because we're at no particular significant support and resistance levels, particularly, and none of the volume patterns have come in yet on the daily charts. So I'm basing all of this on my tick bar charts and the blue professional bars and exhaustion patterns there. So we'll kind of wait and see. It could mean that there's going to be more toing and froing in this changeover, where it becomes a little less clear. It just doesn't break straight into a downtrend. So let me just show you that on the dollar index, for example. There's no blue professional bars or amateur bars here to say that they're getting interested on a daily chart. All we've done here is overshot these support levels here. It's not come into any particular important support resistance level. Here's the euro, same thing. It's the inverse pattern really of the dollar index. We've overshot these resistance levels. Yes, we've got flush patterns kind of going on here, but no blue professional bars or amateur bars up here at this point. British pound. Okay, here we've got a resistance on the intermediate time frame and flush patterns, but again, no better pro-am kind of signals kind of up here. Swiss franc, same thing, through resistance on these two time frames, and no cyclical patterns yet up here. No blue professional bars, amateur bars, and so on. Aussie dollar, same thing. We're through resistances, but there's nothing to catch us up here other than bearish divergence. No blue professional bars, no amateur bars kind of here. Canadian dollar, same thing. Through these resistances, there's no other pattern at the moment here other than a bounce off an under the lip type pattern on the Canadian dollar, but again, no blue professional bars, amateur bars kind of up here to show the way. And Japanese yen, there was nothing on the daily chart that showed us that this was a really kind of important level at 96. So, want to give you the full picture. Don't want to kind of hide things from you. All I can say is based on these kind of patterns, the blue professional bars, and the beginning of a change in a trend here. I think the next 2 or 3 days are going to be really important in Forex. Anyway, so there we go. A little bit of a Forex video. So hope your trading is going well, and looking forward to Monday.